Hi, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Confessions of a Rock and Roll Cameraman, the podcast. Today, we have a special treat because it's all about sci-fi and Star Trek, as you can see right here. Now, I know it's a bit weird for you people because you've seen it on television. This is actually the real deal. This is the real deal. So I'm just going to beam in Tony. Pat Enterprise.
Captain Kirk here.
Yeah, want to beam in?
Hey, Pat. How you doing, man?
Hey, Tony. How you doing? Okay, Enterprise. Want to beam out? Okay, beam him back. Beam him out. Enterprise. Want to beam in? Enterprise. Want to beam out?
I'm not beaming anywhere, pal. Great to be here, man. Yeah. Talk a little bit about Captain Kirk. Spock.
Captain Kirk, Spock. Yeah. Let's talk about the first time you met one of these Treksters.
Well, let's start with the big cheese himself, Captain Kirk, William Shatner. And I had the occasion, great little place, a dinner theater in Toronto called the Famous People Players Theater.
Okay.
Run by a lovely lady, Diane Dupuis. Mm-hmm. And anyways, it was a black light set, which meant that the people working the stage, the characters, were in black, but they had costume puppets that were iridescent that would glow in the black light. So that's how you saw the play. I championed, I think this is a wonderful theater. Diana was amazing. These were some mentally challenged individuals who had a chance to express themselves as a theater company.
Sure.
And it was great. And so the wonderful ambassador that he is, William Shatner, he's behind this kind of stuff, as Leonard Nimoy is. He was there to press the flesh and support this cause.
Wow. So, and you were there for much music or space, or why were you there?
Yeah, I was a news guy there, just doing a regular story.
Just doing a regular news story.
Yeah.
Okay, great. But that's not the only time you met Kirk.
No, and I met him a couple of times since then. The second time, he probably is indelible. I'm sure he remembers it when I was directing Ed the Sock. And so I was in New Orleans at a comic convention of sorts. Actually, this one, I stand corrected. Comic conventions we did in Los Angeles, and this particular function was a symposium where broadcasters coming into selling their wares. So that's where I met, for example, Judge Judy, right? They were selling court shows, court TV, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Did you accost her with Ed the Sock?
No, she was wonderful. She was lovely and dainty and effeminate and signed the autographs for my daughters. And as soon as I talked anything about law, she was Judge Judy. It was amazing. She just transformed.
So you're there, and are you with Space at this time? Are you there? No, you're with Ed the Sock.
I'm with Ed the Sock. Yeah.
Oh, God, what the hell are you doing down there with Ed the Sock?
Yeah. Well, I was working on the show, and I was a cameraman director for the show.
Okay.
And so we put out the All Points Bulletin that it would make sense for Ed the Sock to talk to the captain. And we were basically told to fuck off, right? And that being said, I wouldn't give up on this. So I found out where William Shatner, what dais he's going to be speaking.
Okay.
And that consideration taking into account, we planned our assault. So I set up with the Sock in the corner. He's all ready to go. Steve Cousin, he's lovely. He's ready to go. I got my camera on my shoulder. I'm watching. This is kind of a Trek convention. So people love to play Star Trek ensigns. And so a lot of people have their Star Trek uniforms on.
Okay.
They weren't going to parade it at Comic-Con. They didn't have a chance, but they're going to parade it here. So, but security lacked security. And I saw a window of opportunity, and I start rushing back towards William Shatner. Shatner's a very astute guy. He turns around, he sees the Sock, and he's shaking his head, and he's going, and he goes, fuck off, and he splits. So I'm going, what a Trek moment.
Yeah.
I have the captain with an expletive. Amazing. So at that time, we still had TV Guide, little magazine, tell you what's coming up in broadcast. And I made a point of advertising that we had a feature, an exclusive, with the captain. And so what happened, Pat, is I slowed it down. So every time I came to the shot, it'd be, fuck yeah. Sorry, Mr. Shatner. Lovely.
The man must have been terrified. You're attacking him with a baby Gorn with a cigar in his mouth.
And I love the reference to Gorn. That's the reptilian creature. And there's always one guy who decides to wear this outfit at the conventions. And kudos to you, man. Shatner's got balls. He's been a spaceman.
Yeah.
So I think he can take it on the chin.
Well, he's had sex with green women.
Absolutely.
You know, one of the very few people I know who've had sex with green women.
Well, he also had, man, the first interracial kiss on TV.
That's true.
Yeah, with Nichelle Nichols, who happened to be Lieutenant Commander Uhura. And
was she there?
Yes, I did meet her. I met her later with Walter Canning, and Walter Canning is who played Chekhov. Right? He was another lieutenant commander who kind of pissed off Sulu because he took a lot of screen time from him.
Yeah, but I understand they're friends now. Like they're good friends now.
Yes and no. At another convention that was at the San Diego Comic-Con, amazing. You haven't been there, you got to go. If you're a Trek fan or you're a science fiction fan of B movies, go there. What was amazing, it was they sat back to back. And I hadn't seen that since I was in grade school. They were having issues of some sort, right? Walter is a little difficult to get along. Actually, we killed our interview short with him. We found him a little bit of a dick, and we killed that. We cut that short.
Wow.
Nichelle, hospitable. She gave us a great story. And Pat, it's amazing. And I'll segue to talk about Nichelle because her story is incredible.
Well, huge impact, right?
Thank you, Pat.
That kind of strength of character in the late 60s, that was...
Well, and the fact...
This is cracking an egg.
She was an African woman in late 60s as an officer, portrayed as an officer, lieutenant commander on the bridge of a starship. That'd be like being a lieutenant commander on an aircraft carrier. It's kind of a big deal.
Oh, sure.
She was an actor, and she had aspirations to sing and dance on Broadway.
Yeah.
So she got called, she got a better contract, and thought, hey, that's where I'm going to head. Wow, fate, man, karma. They all play an interesting game in our lives, Pat, and it's important to listen to them or feel them, right? So she went to this NAACP convention, and there, lo and behold, she meets Dr. King, Martin Luther King.
Right.
And Dr. King walks up and goes, I'm a huge Trekkie fan. She goes, like, she's gobsmacked. What? She just thought of somebody else seeking autographs. Turned out it's Dr. King. And she told him, she finally shut down and said, you know, Dr. King, I'm leaving. I'm leaving the show. And he goes, you can't go. Now, Nichelle has told this a million times, and Trekkie fans have heard this, but she tells it to you like the first time.
Yeah.
And what was profound, Pat, is I understood what was happening at that time in the 60s. Don't forget George Takei, who played Lieutenant Commander Sulu, also on the bridge, and pardon me, folks. So we're seeing this ethnic cast. This can be the future. You know, what is an extraterrestrial? You know, it's whatever you deem it to be. And so he said, this is an inclusive world in the United Federation of Planets. Makes sense, right? So the Dr. King turned around to her and he said, and I'm going to quote you because this is amazing. He said, Nichelle, you can't do this. He said, quote, this is not a black role. This is not a female role. For the first time on television, they can see us as we should be. Those are profound words for you.
Oh, yeah. Hallelujah.
She said she turned around, went right back to Gene Roddenberry and said, I apologize, I'm staying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So let's talk about other aliens.
Yeah.
You know, not the type that have visited me, but Spock. Have you met Spock?
Yeah, and that was total serendipity. I'm driving up Mount Pleasant Avenue, right?
Okay.
And as I'm driving up, I look to my left, and I know what a film set looks like. I've seen trailers, and then there's the honey wagon. So yeah, these guys are camped here. And I look, and I went, oh, I saw the sign, 3 Men and a Baby, right?
Oh, wow.
So guess who's directing 3 Men and a Baby? Leonard Nimoy, director Leonard Nimoy.
Yeah.
And I go, you know what? I'm just going to go and visit him. And so I pull over. I had a camera. I thought, what? I'm going to shoot something. So I pull over and I see the security. It's always a good thing to check in with security, Pat, if you don't want to go anywhere. So I just walked around them. And I went up to Leonard Nimoy, who was directing the scene. I waited till he finishes because I'm a courteous guy. And he turned around and I said, hey, man, I'd like to meet you. Can I get a clip for TV? Well, I'll let you shoot a little bit of scene of me directing. So I shot that. And he turns back to me. He goes, what do you think? And I said, honestly... This is the guy with the Spock ears. Honestly, I don't think it's going to work. And he goes, what? And I go, no, I think it's kind of flat, man. And he went, okay. And now he's a little more commanding. Okay, roll.
Ah, nice.
And he goes, that should do it. Okay, you're out of here.
Wow.
That was the first time I met him.
That's terrific.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the only time you met him.
No. No, as a matter of fact, the last time I met him, I was at working for Entertainment Tonight. I was at the convention center in Toronto, and I was working with a former Olympian, Rosie Eady, who works for Entertainment Tonight, and she's an African-Canadian woman, lovely, svelte Olympian, beautiful woman, and I knew that because Willie kept hitting on her, right? It's great. She's quite attractive.
Right.
And so I met them. I was with my Yoko Ono, which is my wife, Rhonda.
Yeah.
And we finished up all of this convention stuff, and they were back there counting, looked like Willy Wonka cards, all the gold cards. Because to get into this convention, you paid $130 to get in.
To get in, right?
And if you wanted an autograph, you paid another $100 because then you
Wow.
get close and personal. They have it all worked out. So
Now, are they together? Like, are they friends still? Are they still
yeah.
sitting beside each other?
Well, I thought I was in, and I did this once to buy underground tickets to a show, to the Olympics, and I went into this cellar, man, smoke-filled room, like it felt like there was gangsters, and that's where you could buy stuff. So the room kind of reminded me of this, where they're hunched over like two saloon cowboys, right, dealing out sort of like the cards.
Yeah.
And that being said, there was a stack of these Wonka cards, right? Well, these gold bars are worth some money, so they're working it out. They completely forgot that Rhonda and I are in the same room. Now, I'm in this room, and behind me is a wall full of toy figurines,
Right.
and Trek books. And he used to write a series of these Trek books, right? And so there's boxes of these books to be sold.
Yeah, Tech War and
Yeah,
whatnot.
Tech War, thank you, exactly.
Yeah, sure.
So I'm back there, and we're doing our thing, and we are the proverbial elephant in the room. And then it was amazing. They both stopped together, right? It's like, huh? And I just Rhonda and I froze and like, I don't know. And the next thing you know, I was politely asked to leave.
Right. So they're sitting there counting their poker chips.
They were counting the money.
And,
Yeah. And I was the interloper. Time for me to go.
Interloper.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
my.
I did one of these. Gone.
Well, this is terrific. You've had so many encounters with the Star Trek universe. At least the first cast.
Yeah.
What about the second? Have you ever met the Next Generation crew?
Yeah, no, I was fortunate enough to continue that sort of that thread. So I had a chance to meet a lot of folks from the next generation, right?
How?
And at this time, I'm working for Space the Imagination Station.
Okay.
So it was kind of a nice fit. And then I ended up heading to Los Angeles again on the set, a Paramount set for the film Nemesis.
Oh, really?
That was directed by Stuart Baird.
Right. Okay.
Stuart Baird was an Oscar-winning editor. He did a lot of other films, but they gave him the helm. He was going to direct. It was a $60 million project. It tanked.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't really a Trekkie guy. He didn't. He never actually watched Star Trek,
Well,
which I think is important.
you kind of need to know those nuances, particularly when you pick up a franchise. And we could argue that for the Spider-Man one, for example, the Marvel catalog. You need to know those backstories.
You really do. You
Yeah,
really
you
do. So, but
Yeah.
regardless of that,
Yeah.
you are in Paramount's lot.
Yeah, man.
Tell me all about it. Like I'm
Well,
I'm a Trekkie.
We're talking going to a place that is representational of the golden era of Hollywood moguls and movie making. This is a place where like people like Mary Pickford would walk through the gates into Paramount. So,
I didn't know she was on Star Trek.
but she was familiar with the Cecil B. DeMille set, and these are
Right.
huge Quonset huts. The Star Trek one is mostly shot in Stage 18. Right?
Okay.
It's massive, right? And you can understand why when you try to go ahead and shoot a scene with part of the NCC 17 or whatever number this one is. This is the place to do it. So I was there. I was hunting around backstage because I'm on behalf of the Paramount Pictures, and I'm working with their promotional team. And again, Terry David Mulligan to shoot a promotional bit for the film.
Okay.
And so I make a wrong turn and I'm backstage. I'm in the ether. I mean, I am lost. That's a quagmire of hell where I am. And I see a stagehand has been working too long. And I said, hey, man, where's and he just points. So I didn't even finish my sentence, so I went that way. And I bump into a guy
Okay.
with a British accent and a fedora. And he's lovely. We get along well. But I tell him my agenda is I got to get to the set. And he says, oh, well, then you should follow me. So I followed this guy. He happened to be Stuart Baird, the director. He took me right to the epicenter of the show, right by the camera position.
No shit.
Yeah, brother. And guess who I met?
Who?
I met two characters. One had yellow eyes. Trekkies, come on, man. You know who this is. Android type of character. Did I hear? Data. It was
Data.
awesome. So I'm meeting Brent Spiner.
Yeah,
Great actor.
Brent.
Actually, he found out that I was a patsy. Robin Williams found out I was a patsy, and so did Eugene Levy. And once they found out they could throw a couple of comedic lines and I would melt, he played on me. So every time Brent Spiner came back from a shot, he would kill me. That was a puddle.
Really?
Yeah, I couldn't keep it together. He's very funny, lovely guy. The other guy there was, of course, another captain, Captain Picard.
Okay.
Yeah, Patrick Stewart, man. Every bit the English gentleman you think, and he is the genuine article, fantastic. And another guy, which I found this is weird, and I think he was just there because there's another set they shoot in a lot of stuff, which just across the little laneway.
Okay.
This is where people are dressed in different costumes, heading to the commissary.
All right.
Pretty cool, man. You might see a Roman legionnaire walk by.
Yeah.
Somebody dressed for a cowboy Western period. It's like, this is Hollywood. And so that person was Jonathan Frakes.
Okay.
And that was interesting because he wasn't in that scene. He was just hanging out with us. It's kind of cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you're there primarily to have interviews with the cast or talk about the new movie coming out for space. Is that,
of course,
is that why you're there?
Yeah. Of course, we were talking about the new movie. This was a little bit of a darker movie for them. The idea of the Nemesis characters, right? It's sort of like you kind of lead toward that kind of vampire aesthetic, if you will.
Yeah.
And actually, I believe one of the persons that was responsible for most of the prosthetics and makeup came from that horror background. So it was perfect. But what was cool is like you get into a place like that that's so wonderfully nostalgic. And I went specifically to this little laneway, and it's called, and you'll love it, Leonard Nimoy Way in Avenue C. And these crossroads in the studio is paramount. Catch a click. Because if you look up from that position, you'll see the Hollywood sign, the huge landmark. It's fantastic. And it really hits home that, wow, I'm in a Hollywood movie studio.
Yeah. Well, I remember being there with you back in
89 or 90?
99.
99.
It was 99 for the release of the Amplifier film.
Yes, man.
The great Glenn Forbes directed sci-fi.
Yeah.
And you were the DOP, and I wrote the music. I did the score.
Things which we amplify, I reach beyond my eyes. I just close my eyes and it's real.
Turn it off! Jay, you let me in or I'm coming in!
If you come in here, I'll kill you!
It's a wonderful collaboration. Exciting to see our movie projected in Hollywood at the Hollywood Film Festival. It was pretty cool.
What an amazing time. I didn't meet anybody from the Star Trek universe then.
No.
But in this case, you're there.
Yeah.
Who'd you interview?
Well, we ended up, and Patrick Stewart was so excited about this because he loved the moment. Anybody who's working in a studio after a while, it's a box, no matter how big it is, right? And you're under pressure. So to purge a little bit of that, get a bit of a respite from production, he followed us outside. We jumped on one of those little golf carts, and drove down the end of the building. We set up. Patrick loved it. And he kept hanging around. We were done the interview, maybe 15, 20 minutes ago. And that's like a lifetime in filmmaking. And until finally some guy really hammering us with the radio going, Mr. Stewart's got to go.
Right.
He's got to go back to set.
Yeah. And he's just like being outside in the fresh air.
He loved it.
Yeah.
He loved
that's
it.
Great. Well, I hear he's quite the genuine character too. Like he's a
gentleman, and he kind of reminded me if I was going to get some musician to play Patrick Stewart, I would have had Charlie Watts play him.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
that's interesting.
It sort of resonated. Their characters. Interesting.
Oh, that's cool.
He said one can play drums better than the other.
So, when we think of Patrick Stewart playing drums,
yes,
other than the Stones,
yeah.
What sort of alien bands would he have been in?
Well, he could have maybe worked with Ferengi. Or an Andorian extraterrestrial. Who knows? I like that. You hear that? Speaking of, is that timing?
That really is. Well, speaking of Western themes, let's go out west. Let's go out west because
you talking about that little hamlet out in Alberta?
Well, I just want to know. You've been to Vulcan. How hot is it? Because it's a volcanic planet.
Well, that's a great misnomer because Vulcan, as you know, was a mythological Roman god, right?
Yeah.
And there happened to be a railway worker making their way, trekking across this sea to shining sea, this great country of ours.
Sure.
And he stops in his little hamlet because he's working on the railway and thinks, hey, I'm going to name this town Vulcan, Alberta, which is kind of good when you're talking about the Roman god of fire and kind of blacksmithing, right?
Sure.
Yeah, made sense.
So in Vulcan,
Yeah.
you got to tell me, because I've never been, but I understand you've been. Tell me about it.
I've been there by there a couple of times, oddly enough, and it's great because in this little town they actually have a replica of the USS Enterprise 170. I think they called theirs one 1995. Obviously, time of construction.
Okay.
And it's on a plinth, and it's right beside the Trans-Canada Highway, so it doesn't get more Canadian than that when you're traveling on Highway 7.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, and is it volcanic or is it just a prairie town?
Just a beautiful prairie town where you might, if you're lucky, get the entire town council to come out in full dress regalia, Star Trek, and the band, you get a marching band to remind you of the Music Man when they're out there. It's fantastic. But they have, Pat, there's God's own little souvenir shop.
Okay.
And I'm a souvenir hand, so I went straight there. And while I'm there, there's all manner of Star Trek souvenirs. But my favorite was you can get the Vulcan ears there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah, a huge prize. And I love it because there's a little sign there. And it says, yeah, Spock is my homeboy.
So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Has the homeboy ever been home?
Well, and to your point, there was a campaign in 2010, and that was to bring Spock home.
Wait until Bill Shatner hears about this. I have been a Vulcan for 44 years. I figured it was about time I came home.
And Leonard Nimoy wasn't at great health at this period, but he did make it up there in April that same year. And I want to read this verbatim because I thought the Calgary Herald did a nice job as a eulogy to Spock. Because Spock went up and made a point of putting his handprint so that, he can be remembered by and pay homage to this town that connected with him. So the Calgary Herald, and I quote, "In the center of town, snow fluttered in the biting wind that rustled the plastic wrap of flowers laid down on a bust and plaque from Nimoy, which included his Vulcan salute handprint set in bronze." Amen. Nicely done.
Wow. That's terrific. Yeah. Amazing. Well, that is only part of this essay. So I want to invite you to keep tuning in to the CORNRC.com podcast, Confessions of a Rock and Roll Cameraman podcast. And please subscribe, become a VIP member on our mailing list at the website, or make a comment in the section below. Subscribe and hit that bell, of course, to keep getting information from us. And again, thank you very much for tuning in. Tony, thanks for sharing your stories.
Star Trek's great. Continue watching, folks.
And we'll see you next time.